Trump claimed that the January 6th insurrection was a day of love. A lie. Healthcare is a human right. The Trump administration is a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, and for the billionaire class.
So we actually meant to cover this a few days ago when it was still fresh, but the words are still as pertinent and as important as ever. So I want to look into Bernie Sanders' response to Trump's congressional address and why I think it's the only correct response from Democrats. So take a moment to like the video. As always, helps us out a ton, and let's get straight into it.
Trump claimed that the 2020 election was stolen from him and that he won by a landslide. Remember that? A lie. Trump claimed that the January 6th insurrection was a day of love. A lie. Trump has claimed that millions of undocumented people voted and do vote in American elections. A lie. Trump has claimed that climate change is a hoax originating in China. A lie. Trump has claimed that Ukraine started the horrific war with Russia. A lie. And tonight, just tonight, Trump claimed that millions of dead people between the ages of 100 and 360, I guess, were collecting Social Security checks. And that is an outrageous lie intended to lay the groundwork for cuts to Social Security and dismantling the most successful and popular government program in history.
This is all true, and again, it's exactly how Democrats should be addressing Trump. And I didn't cover Alyssa Slotkin, who was picked to give like the official response, mostly because I don't like her or her politics, and I definitely didn't like the response, but I think she missed in the angle she chose and the nostalgia of past Republicans that Democrats also uses their angle that they ran on in the campaign largely, which proved fruitless, where in this video, she is glorifying Reagan at points, mentioning how far the Republican Party has fallen under Trump and how it's different and they wouldn't be doing the same if it was Reagan, and how if Trump was in when Reagan was, he would have lost us the Cold War. And this is true. Don't get me wrong. What she's saying wasn't wrong, but it doesn't change minds or move people. If anything, in my opinion, it opens the door to these people entertaining the possibility of Trump returning the party to this glory. Because if you're already someone who maybe doesn't trust Democrats or doesn't like their politics or whatever, you're not going to be like, well, they have the right idea about what's good for Republicans. Instead, you should just point out the gross lies. You should point out how Trump's policies don't line up with his rhetoric, how what he actually does doesn't benefit workers, but also how what he's saying is grossly anti-American, anti-democracy, right? And Trump will tell lies in pursuit of his own personal gain, from undermining our elections to setting the foundation to cut your grandparents' Social Security.
The Trump administration is not hiding it. The Trump administration is a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, and for the billionaire class. Notwithstanding some of their rhetoric, this is a government that could care less about ordinary Americans and the working families of our country. My friends, we are no longer moving toward oligarchy. We are living in an oligarchic society. Now let's take a moment and try to escape from Trump's parallel universe, the universe that you heard tonight.
The alarms should absolutely be sounded. Every single day, Democrats should be yelling this from the rooftops, and the Republican Party should never be able to rebound from this. If Democrats played their cards right, this would be the death of the Republican Party. They can never pretend to not be the party of the wealthy, to be the worker party anymore. Trump appointed 13 billionaires to various cabinet positions, many of whom don't have the experience to head these cabinets, instantly then tries to cut and gut many of these agencies, cut social programs that benefit the middle and lower class, setting up $880 billion in Medicaid cuts, almost $300 billion in food stamp cuts, talking about Social Security fraud to set up the groundwork to cut that. He wants to force through $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, where he promised tax cuts for the middle class. No tax on overtime, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, child tax credits for $5,000, literally all too expensive to fit in the budget that they've already passed. So we know what can fit in these tax cuts, and we know that can't fit. So it was entirely a lie to gain support for the rich guy tax cuts, where if Democrats can focus on this and hit this home every single day, highlight this nationally, it should be the end of this fairy tale of Republicans being the party of the worker.
Healthcare is a human right. I didn't hear one word from you, not one word, over 90-minute speech, not one word from you about the healthcare crisis that is impacting many, many millions of our people. Nor did I hear you say why we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, sometimes 10 times more than the people in other countries, and why 1 out of 4 Americans are unable to afford the prescriptions their doctors prescribe. Not one word about the outrageously high cost of prescription drugs. Mr. President, we have nearly 800,000 Americans who are homeless. Over 20 million of our people spend more than half of their limited income on housing. We have a major housing crisis in America. Everyone knows it, apparently, except you, because in your speech tonight, I didn't hear you mention the housing crisis.
He didn't mention the healthcare crisis outside of lying about an autism number. He didn't mention the housing crisis. He mentioned veterans maybe once, but didn't highlight the many issues they face in this country. He didn't speak on the issues with childcare, especially like the affordability. He was sure to talk about trans women in sports, however, or about woke DEI policies or demonizing immigrants as people who do violent crimes, because he has no real solutions for these issues. He has concepts, right? For the healthcare crisis, nothing. For the housing crisis, nothing. The mental health epidemic veterans face, nothing. The struggle of finding affordable childcare. He said, drill, baby, drill. We saw this on the campaign trail that he had no answers. All he has is the shiny object to distract you with, which is trans women and DEI. And that's why I think the worst part about Trump winning this election is that these very real problems that like every American should care about, despite your partisan affiliation, are going to go ignored for the next 4 years while we focus on made-up issues that affect literally nobody, like the 12 trans athletes that exist.